All right, let's dive right into one of the most fascinating chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. It unpacks a philosophy that is absolutely timeless, and it all centers on a single, incredibly powerful idea: your final thought. So let me just start by asking you this. What if the very last thought you have in this life, that final mental state as you're checking out, was the single most important thing that decided everything that comes next? This isn't just some random philosophical question, it's the absolute core of what this ancient text is trying to tell us.
You know, this whole chapter is basically set up like a big Q&A session. You've got the warrior Arjuna, who's full of questions, and on the other side, his divine guide, Krishna, who has the answers. And Arjuna kicks things off by asking for the definition of some of the biggest, most fundamental concepts you can imagine. This really sets the stage for everything else. So first up, Brahman. What is it? Krishna explains that this is the ultimate reality. It's the supreme, unchanging fabric of all existence. Think of it like the universal consciousness that's underneath everything, the one thing that stays constant even as entire universes are born and then dissolve. Okay, next is Atma. Now, if Brahman is this huge cosmic ocean of consciousness, then Atma is like a single drop of that ocean inside of you. It's the self, right? That little spark of the divine, that personal bit of consciousness that lives inside every single being. And then we have karma. And Krishna's definition here is really specific. It's not just about simple action and reaction. He describes it as the creative force itself, the very engine that brings all beings into existence and keeps the whole cosmic show running.
Okay, so now we've got these foundational ideas down: Brahman, Atma, karma. So how does this all connect back to that final moment of life? This is where we get to the core teaching of the whole chapter. And right here, Krishna gives the straight answer. He lays down this fundamental rule of consciousness. Whatever state of being you're in at the moment of death is what determines your next existence. And the reason is actually pretty simple, because that final state is just the grand total, the culmination of all the thoughts and feelings you were absorbed in your entire life.
And this is absolutely crucial. This isn't some abstract theory about what happens after you die. Not at all. It's a principle for how to live right now. The text makes it crystal clear. The thoughts that you keep coming back to, your dominant mental habits, are actively shaping who you are and what your reality is in this very moment. Your life, well, it's the practice ground for your final thought.
So naturally, you're probably thinking, okay, if my final thought is that important, how in the world am I supposed to control it? That's a great question, and Krishna actually outlines two very different ways to go about it. The first path is, well, it's the expert level. It's the path of the hardcore ascetic. This is a super technical, highly disciplined yoga practice. It means complete withdrawal from the senses and really precise control over your mind and your life force. It's incredibly powerful, for sure, but it's also incredibly difficult. And there's a huge risk of messing it all up right at the very end. And the contrast between these two paths is just brilliant. On one hand, you have this super demanding, high-stakes path for the ascetic, but then Krishna offers another way, the path of devotion. And this path is open to literally everyone. Its main requirement isn't some severe discipline, but just constant loving remembrance. And this right here is Krishna's ultimate advice to Arjuna, and by extension, to us. He doesn't say, hey, run away and hide in the cave. He says, remember the divine, surrender your mind and intellect to that higher principle, and then get on with it. Engage with your life. Do your duty. Fight your battle. The point is that spirituality is meant to be integrated into life, not isolated from it. But why does mastering your mind matter so much? Well, this is where we zoom out, way out, to see what's at stake on a truly cosmic scale. We're not just talking about getting a better next life. We're talking about escaping an unimaginably vast cycle. Just to give us a little perspective, the text drops this number on us. A single day for the cosmic creator, Brahma, lasts for 4.32 billion human years, and his night is just as long. This isn't just to blow our minds with a big number. It's to explain that the universe itself operates in these huge, repetitive cycles.
And here's how that cycle works. At the dawn of one of Brahma's days, all beings in all worlds pop out of an unmanifest state into reality. They live out their existences. Then, as his night falls, everything dissolves back into that unmanifest state, only to re-emerge all over again when the next day dawns. All of it driven by that engine of karma. Even the highest heavens are part of this endless loop. But, and this is the whole point, there is a way out.
The text reveals that beyond this massive, endless cycle of creation and dissolution, there is another reality, an eternal, unchanging state. This is the supreme abode, the ultimate destination, a place from which you don't have to return. So after death, two eternal paths open up. You've got the bright path, for those whose minds are fixed on Brahman. That path leads to total liberation, the path of no return. Then you have the dark path, for those who are still caught up in acting for selfish desires. That path leads to some temporary rewards, sure, but it's always followed by an inevitable rebirth, right back into the cosmic cycle.
So let's just boil it all down. What are the big takeaways? First, what you think you become. Your dominant thoughts are literally creating your reality, both now and in the future. Second, the most practical path isn't to run away from the world, but to dive into it while keeping your mind focused on a higher purpose. And finally, the ultimate goal of all of this spiritual work is true freedom, getting off the giant cosmic Ferris wheel of rebirth for good.
And that brings us to the final question, which is really the only one that truly matters. If your life is the training ground for your final thought, then what's the dominant feeling, the core sentiment that you're practicing and getting absorbed in today?